cut up a fresh bone-in chicken breast, and you'll see it naturally divides into two distinct parts. A large, fleshy, teardrop-shaped lobe that we commonly know as the chicken breast, and a smaller, more narrow piece that is the chicken tender. Now, Gary Allen is a food historian, and he said that the chicken finger was originated in the need to find a place for that small chicken tender. He said that chicken fingers were not really in the mainstream until about the 1990s. Okay, so now flashback to the end of the 1980s. There was a massive surge in consumer marketing around saturated fats. And the fear led to a development in the production of more chicken breasts. And so the industry was left with the idea, what are we going to do with these chicken tenders? The answer to that was on children's plates. Now, the National Post this year posted an article called Death to the Chicken Finger. And Adam McDowell suggested that we have created a whole generation of unsophisticated and picky eaters. He talked about the processed food industry and their role in that, and we, as a society of parents, have put our children on a bland, restricted diet decorated with fat, salt, sugar. But I'm not here to talk to you about healthy eating or whole eating. I'm a researcher of the human condition. I also have a very strong spiritual practice that believes in the interconnectedness of everything. So I truly believe that there was a metaphorical similarity in the evolution of the chicken finger and our own evolution, our emotional evolution as humans. Now, I'm a yoga teacher. I'm a life relations coach. I'm also a mom of 3, so I totally get it. I know what it's like to make all the meals and get the kids to school and get the homework done and take on all the other responsibilities that I choose, not to mention the weight of the world that I put on myself. But what if Mr. McDowell is right? What if we have been indulging children's picky eating habits in this vicious cycle of pizza and pasta and chicken fingers? And we're disguising it. We're disguising it with lights and colors. We call it the kids' menu. So if this is true, if we really are streamlining and dumbing down our children's eating habits and the food around that, and food is our basic human need, then there's got to be a link in it somewhere. Okay, think about this for a minute. Think about your last favorite meal. Okay, it doesn't have to be extravagant, it could be super simple too. And think about the person you were with. Think about what was served, or maybe what you made. Think about the utensils that were used, and how you put the food in your mouth, and how it tasted, and what the textures were like. What did you have to drink with it? How did the meal end? Was there a sweet? Maybe a cup of tea? Maybe a kiss goodnight? How did you feel when the meal was over? Or more importantly, how do you feel now when you think about it? Look, based on this contemplation that I have done 100 times, I'll bet you it was alive with experience. I mean, if it was simple and familiar, maybe you felt calm and relaxed. Or maybe it was extravagant and new for you, so you felt exhilarated and curious. Or maybe it was too new and you were absolutely horrified by the experience. The point is that food is so directly linked to our emotions as a stimulus that whatever we put in our mouths has to have an effect and a way for us to express our beautiful human life. KFC commercial on TV right now, I just saw the other day. What does it say? I'm sorry what I said when I was hungry. Or my friend who hashtags all the time that she's hangry, closely linked to emotions. So what happens? What happens when we put ourselves or our children on a really beige, bland diet? Ask a child after they've had a piece of pizza or some chicken fingers. What do they say? Good. Or great. Or the one I love the most, which is kind of bug off mom, fine, as they run out the door to do something else. And I really don't blame them. I mean, maybe the first meal of chicken fingers was great. Or fantastic even. But what about the 5th meal? Or the 15th meal? Or I tried to do some calculations yesterday, and for me it's about the 50th meal of chicken fingers. Look, I'm not advocating a 7-course tasting menu. I'm just suggesting that there is a link in our experience, our emotional experience, and our ability to express it. And it comes in 2 ways. One, to expose ourselves to new and wondrous things. And 2, our ability to share that. When I was a kid, I thought squash was disgusting. And as an adult, I am disgusted when I watch people speak unkindly to each other. I was enthralled as a child watching my grandmother, who's Hungarian, make these kiflis. And as an adult, I am enthralled watching people relate to each other. And in grade 3, I shared my lunch every single day with a little girl who never brought lunch to school. And I was sad and scared. And as an adult, I am so grateful for the people who listened to me when I expressed that. And in this moment, I feel so proud and excited and deeply curious. You raise your hand if you've ever felt curious about anything. Raise your hand if you've ever felt excited. Raise your hand if you've ever felt scared. Raise your hand if you've ever felt irritated. Raise your hand if you've ever felt angry. And raise your hand if you've ever felt loving. Okay, keep it up if you have. And look around. Feelings are universal. We all have them. It doesn't matter our age, our sex, our gender, our sexual orientation. It doesn't matter our political viewpoint, and it doesn't matter our religious belief system. We all have them. They level the playing field in relating to each other. And when we express them, we meet eye to eye with being human. Kids have huge feelings, massive. Basic child psychology says that a child cannot distinguish between themselves and the emotion. So Henry isn't angry, Henry is anger. And they feel anger and jealousy and sadness and open-heartedness and curiosity. They feel all of that stuff. Healthy, emotional children are able to process this through interaction and play. So do adults. But if children can't put into words their deeper emotional experience, then they can't move on to the next developmental level for themselves. Look at what we do to children when they cry. What do we say? Don't cry. Or stop. What's a child really saying? I'm angry, I'm scared, I'm really hurt. And we tell them not to feel it. Look at how we relate to each other as adults. We use a question as a greeting. Hey, how you doing? What do we say? Fine. We joke in teacher training at the TEDxDalhousieU Yoga School what fine really means. There's very little inquiry into that question. And then we have a lazy answer that comes out, fine. And you know what? We accept it because it's comfortable, familiar, easy, like a children's menu. Look, have you ever tried to feed another parent's kid? It's usually the parent who pushes back first. Oh, no, she doesn't eat that. But what the parent is really saying is, I fed that to her, she screamed and cried, I'm too tired, I can't stand it right now, I just need a glass of wine. So, we give a food that is more accepting, less challenging. The path to least resistance, guaranteed to succeed if success is based on getting the child to eat. But what if success was based on something else? Engaging in emotionally intelligent conversation with the sole purpose of connection. Look, we can't always get what we want. We know this as adults, or at least we eventually figure that out. But we know that disappointment and dissatisfaction holds an equal value to passion and interest. All we need is the stimulus and to be heard around it in order to expand our culinary palate and our emotional palate. Look, don't get me wrong, I love a good chicken finger. And my sister lived on peanut butter sandwiches all through grade school. And she's a fantastic cook and deeply passionate and has no problem expressing what she feels. However, at my dinner table, we ate what we were given. We had the freedom to express how we felt around that, and we knew exactly what we had to do to get dessert. But we learned tolerance and self-expression and self-empowerment to make those decisions. Look, I had no idea at the time that I was learning how to open my mind, expand my culinary palate, learn and expand my verbal understanding of those feelings, not to mention sustain my life. Who knew? My parents probably didn't either. But 30 years later, as a director of the yoga school, my job is to help teachers look at their life as a menu of beautiful relationships and emotions and stimulus and experience, and to learn how to express what is alive inside of them based on all of that for the sole purpose of connecting. I want my children to grow up with the widest view of life. I want them to have the healthiest bodies, the clearest minds, the most open hearts, so they can make the wisest decisions, so they can stand up in front of a room of 1,000 people and speak their truth. Or more importantly, stand up in front of one, and with all the courage and the vastness and the familiarity around it, to tell them that they love them. The salad bar of sadness holds as much value as the dessert tray of delight. And our relational success is dependent on processing and communicating our undigested feelings. We're intelligent human beings. We know that our greatest asset are our children and the next generation. We don't have enough time to do it all of ourselves. And the greatest gift of being human is something that was in us all along. The thing that we were born with is this experience of what is alive inside of us, these feelings, simply. It heals all wounds. It lets us meet eye to eye. It gives us a place to have a conversation. This is the conversation that can heal relationships. It will make them last. It is a conversation where it will stop the violence. It's a conversation that leads to basic human needs. And if it's in our feelings that lead us to that, then it is our responsibility to speak this way and teach our children how to express themselves. That is success. So the next time someone says, "Hey, how you doing?" Stop. Imagine they have just invited you to the most expansive, elaborate buffet in the world. And drop the children's menu. And choose wisely. Namaste.